Hey, Katrina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm working on a home decor project and I'm combining a favorite photo of mine of my little grand girl with my horse Thunder with a bunch of odds and ends. So let's get started by taking a look at what I might use on this project. I usually like to start projects like this by just putting together a bunch of things from around my craft room. So I knew I wanted to go with a blue and beige color scheme here. So I've combined some ribbons and lace. My photo, this is a digital print from Whimsy, and I've printed it on 100 weight or 110 weight cardstock. Bunch of flowers that I had left over from projects before, some buttons, my little dragonflies, and of course the wagon. Now I will tell you that I made this for a challenge over at FarmQuest, and the challenge is to use an animal and or a wagon. So I've chosen to go ahead and use both. What I'm doing here is I'm taking part of a piece of cardboard just from a box that came into the house, and I'm pulling off that top layer. This piece is going to serve as my backdrop for the entire piece. So here it is, and I'm just going to leave it as is. I didn't ink it or anything. And I will start laying out my project here. This is an old piece of denim from a pair of blue jeans that was ripped beyond repair. We have quite a few of those in this house. I'm going to take this pair of scissors and just cut away. I'm using these shears to cut a rectangle about the size of my photo. By using pinking shears, I can know that the denim isn't going to fray or ravel out, or at least it shouldn't, and especially after I glue it down, it's not going to. I'm bringing in some burlap ribbon. I had some actual pieces of burlap, but I didn't want that much on the project, so I decided to go with just a little strip of this wired ribbon, and I pulled the wire out and just cut a little strip of it. Now I'm bringing in some Simplicity cotton sort of lace, and later on when I actually adhere this, I'm going to go ahead and sort of ruffle it just a little bit. So you'll notice later on that it has a little more dimension to it. All right, I'm bringing in my little wagon now and some flower cuts. Again, right now I'm just laying it all out just to get an idea of how it's going to look when it's all put together. You'll notice a little ribbon up in the left-hand corner. I really like that blue and sort of beigey gray gingham, but I ended up going with something just a little bit lighter, and you'll see that here in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and drop on my little dragonflies just to kind of get an idea. I ended up putting them somewhere different also. So don't get married to this because it's all going to change by the time I'm done with this. All right, so this little wagon, I'm going to come in and ink it up with some, I think that's Champagne Close to My Heart ink. And I'm just doing this just to give it a little bit of texture so it's just not so plain. Brought in my Pitt Pen, and it's a really dark brown, and I'm just going around the edge just to get rid of the white marks. I could have gotten up and gotten a black marker, but I had the brown Pitt Pen right there, so I decided to use that. So I found these little gold jewelry pieces, and I'm really not sure where they came from. I've not done that much jewelry making, but I seem to have a lot of that in my stash. I'm not sure if one of my grandmothers may have done that or my mom. I'm not quite sure. So anyway, I have a lot of it in my stash that I have inherited. So I pull it out and I use it. on occasion. I'm going to use a little bit of fabric tack, and I'm going to adhere the little wagon. Now, since this is a home decor piece and not something I'm putting in a book, I cut this again from 110 weight cardstock, so it's pretty heavy. Now, the black underneath is just normal, average, regular black cardstock, but the little wagon itself, the beige colored piece, is pretty heavy. Here I'm putting my floral arrangement together on my wagon. I'm going to use fabric tack for that. I use fabric tack for just about everything. I mean, I buy it in bulk now. I ran out a few weeks ago and it was just horrible. It was just horrible. So I just bought a bunch of it. Now here's another one of my favorite adhesives, E6000. I use that when I adhere metal or plastic pieces. As you can see, I'm trying really hard to use some tweezers here and it's just not working out for me. So I just resorted to my fingers. All right, I'm going to add just a little snippet of some lace just to give a little more interest to my little wagon. I'm bringing in a little embroidery floss, tie a little bow, and then I will sort of place that up in that floral cluster. Now, I talk about this a lot in my videos. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with my piercing tool. Probably because I use it for everything except piercing. I use it to place things in. I use it to add glue. You know, one day I'll actually use it to pierce something. No, I'm just kidding. I really have used it to pierce things before. But I just like my piercing tool. I use it for everything. You know, I fuss so much with floral clusters. I don't know why, but it's like I can never be finished with them. And so I just had to add one more little piece of polka dot in there. And I'm not sure why I felt the need to do that, but I did. So there it is, one more little piece. Sometimes it's hard for me to know when to call it done. I told you at the beginning of this video that this was a lot of odds and ends from around the house. This is a piece of Lang calendar. I really love Lang calendars. I like the texture and the feel of the paper, and I love that blue color that's on the majority of them. So I never throw them away. I use them to back cards and all kinds of projects. I'm going to use some double score tape and then fabric tack over that. Now, if you watch many of my videos, you know that this is my go-to adhering system. This gives me some leeway. So if I place this on here and I don't love my placement, I've got a little bit of wiggle room. Not a lot, but a little. So I can slide it around just a little bit, get it centered as much as I can. Now it's time to start laying out. And how I did this is I just simply marked along the edges of where that denim was going to fall. That way I had a pretty good idea of the placement. I went ahead and I scruffed up the piece of cardstock that was going to go on the top and added a little bit of blue ink and some champagne or brown cashmere, probably is the color I actually use because it's a little darker than champagne, and added a little bit of that around the edges. Then I went to my go-to adhering system, double score tape and glue, and I just started adding all of the layers one on top of the other. Through the magic of editing, here we are, everything glued on. I am adding this bow, and again, I want to give it a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to use some Zotz dots, and I am to the very end of my Zotz dots here. And you'll notice I'm using my little piercing tool to adhere that. Now I'm coming, again, like I said, to the very end of my Zotz dots, and the only ones left are the ones that are just stuck to the plastic liner that it just won't come off. So I'm struggling a bit here, but I finally got it off, and now I can just trim the tail of this ribbon, and there it is. I'm going to go ahead and share a little trick here with you. If you have something really, really little to adhere, like this little dragonfly, I take my glue bottle and I just squeeze it until just the tiniest bit of glue comes up. Touch it to the tip of the bottle and then just get the slightest amount of glue and adhere it down. My second tip: when you're working with an almost finished project, and especially with a photograph on it, I really like to cover my photograph at this point. I'm so close to the end here that I would be really sad if at this point I got a big glob of glue on that photograph. So I have a piece of white paper there that I just keep on my desk. It has a paper clip on it because I use that same piece. Sometimes I paper clip it down to my journal book, but it also adds a little bit of weight to it so that when I just drop it down, it's going to stay and it's not going to blow off. So that's why the paper clip is there. It serves two purposes, but it definitely protects my photo, and I don't have to worry about if a string of glue or something falls. It's okay. It's just going to fall on that little piece of paper. I'm going to add a few little gems to my dragonfly cluster. I like dragonflies. We have them out here in the fields, and we've had a few more lately. I noticed them when I was down south riding and fell in love with them on a horse riding trip. Added a little bit of tape there, and now I'm going to add a few little straight pins, just some quilting pins. They had the color scheme going on, and I thought, oh, that would be kind of fun to come up and out of the wagon, give it a little something, give it some height there next to my dragonflies. And that brings us to the end of this project. Thanks so much for joining me. Questions or comments, please leave them in the box below, and I'll leave you all the information you might need down in the description box. And I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.